Hello everybody and welcome to new lag poker video. Today I'm going to play for you a 2 tables NL25 zone session. I've seen that the last video I played at these stakes was very successful. It had a lot of views, so I assume it is very interesting for you to see these stakes, where we play a bit less GTO and more exploitative. So I realized, why not to make more? And let's start now with the action. Table 1 we have pocket fours, we have a recreational player who looks pretty tight opening from there, and I'm gonna call. I don't think any other action is reasonable. Then if he's gonna bet here, I'm usually gonna raise. I want, of course, he plays pretty tight, so I would bet pretty big. I would assume he has something. Once he checks, I'm gonna still bet big, because I think these kind of players are probably gonna overplay things like ace-king and so on this board, and he might not fold. This time he folds, so probably didn't have much, but let's move on. For 3 off, it's gonna be a fold. There's 10-8 off. We have ace-jack of hearts. Let's see. This guy opens. Again, I'm gonna 3-bet. He looks tight, but I have very few hands on him, so I'm not gonna treat him as a proper nit. If he has the green label, it means I saw him limping or doing some silly things. One guy, we have 20 hands on him. 4-bet us. I'm just gonna fold versus an unknown. This is certainly a hand which is a reasonable call versus a regular, but I don't think it's profitable versus an unknown. And well, anyway, another guy shoves as well, so it wasn't our time. Pocket fives again. Well, we had pocket fours before, but let's see now. Okay, we are gonna open from the button. I'm not gonna call a 3-bet usually at this stakes, especially. Okay, they all fold, which is sweet. 6-8 offsuit, we fold. Ace-3 suited, I'm gonna open, and given the big blind is a recreational, I'm gonna make it bigger, as well as on table 2 with ace-queen suited. All fold at table 1, that's a good result, and not as nice on table 2 when they all folded, we had ace-queen. Gonna fold some hands here, and yeah, 5-4 suited, we fold. I know the channel is named Lose Aggressive, Lag Poker, but I don't think playing lag is very profitable at these stakes in general. Depends, we might be a bit more aggressive than we are at higher stakes, but I don't think being extra loose is that profitable. We open ace-9 suited, and we get a 3-bet, not many info, and I'm gonna just call versus an unknown. I'm probably gonna check fold here. I would definitely continue if I had the spade or diamond combo, but with this I think we can safely check fold. Unluckily we get a walk here with pocket kings, too bad. Always mark the bad players. If somebody is not sitting full stack, he's probably a bad player, so mark them that way. We open ace-8 suited on table 2. Typically gonna fold to a 3-bet. We open ace-5 suited on table 1. 3x given heavy blind. My opening sizes are very variable. I open usually 2x UTG and middle position, 2.3 cutoff, 2.5 button, 3x small blind, or any other position if the big blind is a recreational player. Here you have one guy, probably a recreational player, even if his stats doesn't look that bad. We're gonna call this hand big blind versus UTG, but unlikely, we're just gonna have to check fold this one. On table 2, ace-9 off. This guy is super loose. I don't mind 3-betting this wide versus a recreational player, especially when so far he folded a lot to 3-bet and c-bets. I'm gonna c-bet this one. So far, he always folded to 3-bet, and he folded off to 2 c-bets out of 3. Let's see if he continues doing that. I may bluff some turns, maybe some overcard. but I'm not gonna bluff the jack. I'm just gonna check back. I don't think he's gonna fold many better hands than ace-9. And I'm gonna give up on the river as well. I think he's gonna check call with many mid-pocket persons on, so I don't think I have enough fold equity here to make it profitable. Let's hope he had king queen or a weaker ace than ours. He had king queen, so yeah, that was sweet. Table 1, ace 10, we open, 3x, given the table, given the blinds. We open as well on table 2. On table 1, we have 2 recreational pairs to call us, so I'm gonna size up my... First of all, I'm gonna c-bet more frequently, and I'm gonna also size up my c-bet, simply because these kind of players are going to play all kind of ace-x off, so I feel like we dominate them more often than we normally dominate a regular player. 10-9 off on table 2 and 10-jack off on table 1 on the big blind. Typically hands we're going to defend in both situations. Let's see if they open. Okay, table 1, this guy opens. Not many info, looks like a regular, but we'll see. And same spot on table 2. Gonna call. We got a top pair here. I would say versus a balanced player, we would definitely mix it, sometimes check, sometimes bet. I feel like in the microstakes in general, it's better to bet. That's because I don't think they're that much balanced in general and expect a bit less raises than I would expect at higher stakes. So if they're less balanced, I think we can c-bet a bit more, especially with this kind of top pairs, which are also weak since it's only a 10 high top pair. King 6 suited on table 2. I am going to open if everybody else folds. And so it happens. Normally a fold versus a big blind from this position, and on this board I'm gonna mix my hand, sometimes bet, sometimes check versus an unknown. I'm gonna check this time. Of course, betting is perfectly fine. If I check, I'm gonna usually check. I'm going to check call usually, and on this turn I'm gonna still check and I'm gonna still check call. Check, check pretty quickly, and I'm gonna check on the river. Typically call because I don't think he has many strong hands while when he checks twice. So yeah, sweet. We open the queen 10 on table 1, and we have pocket kings on table 2. Let's see if we can get more money than the previous kings. We have open from a regular from the cutoff. Of course, we are ready to get it in if he 4-bets. We might sometimes call the 4-bet, but I prefer calling more aces than kings. It's of course a more solid hand. Ace 7 suited, blind versus blind. We might both 3-bet or call if the small blind opens. This time I'm going for the call. On a small sizing like 1/3, we might certainly float. But if he bets half pot or plus, I'm gonna fold. This is half pot basically, and I'm gonna fold to this. Calling wouldn't be terrible anyway. Table 2, you have this. We hit this bottom pair versus a recreational player. If he sizes it small, I'm gonna raise. But once he sizes this big, I feel like we might also just fold here. They're not bluffing that much with these sizes, especially out of position. So I'm just gonna fold this one. And on table 1, I would mix here, sometimes 4-bet, sometimes call. This guy is following me, so he knows who I am. And I'm gonna check this. I'm gonna check call the first one and reevaluate on the turn. Good blockers, but in general it's not a good turn for our hand. I'm just gonna check fold if he bets again. I have many better hands to continue with here. He checks back, which is interesting, and I would just check. You know, with ace king, I don't feel like we need to make him fold. Sometimes we're gonna win anyway. If he chose to go to showdown with ace jack or our same hand, we will split in this case. So I'm gonna check and see what he does, but if he does bet check bet on this board, I don't think he's bluffing enough. So yeah, I think it's a pretty safe fold. Okay, and we fold. Table 2, we have Jack 4. We might open, definitely. I'm gonna fold here. Okay, we have King 10 off on table 2, which is a hand that we are going to call if somebody opens. Recreational opens, recreational calls. It's close when there are two of them because it's a bit weird, but this hand plays not that great versus two opponents, but since they're both bad players, I feel like it's still profitable to call. Of course, we were hoping for a better board than this one. And it's gonna be a check fold if any of them bets. Of course, unless they bet one blind. We have pocket fours and pocket queens. We open the queens on table 2. We open the fours on table 1. We get the 3-bet from a recreational player. I'm going to 4-bet him and call a shove. If this happens, gonna make it big. He calls, this flop hits. We can do either ways, shove or check. I'm just gonna shove. I think he might call on a board like this even with ace king sometimes. So, and if he has a little overpair, I don't want him to get scared. But he quickly folded, so I guess he didn't have much. Here versus unknown, I think is okay to bet in the field. I feel like they're not raising enough, so this makes c-betting more profitable in general. And it's a good board for us, so I wouldn't mind the bet with a hand as weak as this one. 10 hits, it's very good for this check calling range, and I'm just gonna check fold, check back, and typically fold the river if he bets. So a hit happens, and that's it. We have pocket fives on table 2 on the big blind. We are definitely gonna call if button or small blind opens, and if there is no 3-bet, of course. Okay, we call. That's an interesting flop. I think we can both check call or check raise. I would mix this hand. I don't mind the check raise sometime. I'm gonna 3-bet this a check, and we're gonna check raise this, as I said. Villain calls, deuce hits. I would typically check. I would not continue with this hand on this turn. If he bets it's close, but we have pretty good blockers for his bluffs. 10 hits, and I'm just gonna check and reevaluate if he bets, but once again we don't have very nice blockers here to bluff catch. And I think sometimes we might have some strong ace, which we'll just check back here, I think. He had a top pair on the flop, so no way he would fold that. But see how relatively cheap it was for us to get to showdown by using the check raise there. I open king jack of hearts here. 3x as usual, because the big blind is a weak player. A6 of spades we open on table 1, and we open ace queen off on table 2. 3x, given the blinds. Queen 10 suited, interesting candles on table 1. Seems like it's gonna be a family pot on table 2, and we are going to 3-bet this one. I'm gonna c-bet big, given the two weak players, for the same reason I c-bet big in the some previous hand, in a spot similar to this, because I think they have many, let's say, this guy is 4-betting a lot actually. I'm gonna call. And here I'm just gonna call. Check fold on this board, unluckily. I'm gonna bet big here because they may have many weaker, especially, I don't know the button, but especially the big blind may have many weaker aces. Okay. We have now jack 9 of spades on table 1, which is a hand we are going to open if everybody else folds. Maybe a mix, well now we fold versus the 3-bet. This guy was a recreational player, so the sizing was definitely fine with the ace queen on the turn. I would say that when you have a good top pair with the ace and you're versus a bad player, you should size up usually because, as I said, they play all kind of aces and it's very tough for them to fold them. So you can get a lot of value by betting big when you have a good kicker. I'm just gonna check fold this ace jack suited on table 1. And on table 2 as well, versus a recreational player, I'm gonna check on the flop on this board, which is very easy to defend, and we just have air. Doesn't change much on table 1 with the 4 of clubs. I don't think we have a lot of fold equity, and we definitely don't have enough equity. King queen off, and ace 8 suited. Okay, we open the king queen off. If the big blind 3-bets, I would typically call. Nice flop. I'm gonna bet the flop. We may mix actually in this situation, blind versus blind. I suggest is that if you have a solver, I suggest you study the blind versus blind situations because they're very different from what you may expect. For example, here, you know, not just here, but I mean in general, there are more checks than you may think. We got 2 aces on table 1. Let's see if you can get some money from them. King 4 suited on table 2, definitely an open. Small blind calls, I don't know him, might be a recreational. He donks, just gonna fold. And luckily with the aces, we didn't get anything. Ace-7 off, I would just fold. The small blind is a recreational, but it's pretty aggressive, it bets a lot, so I'm not gonna open that wide there. King queen on table 2, we open. And we might open also this 6-8 suited on table 1. Kind of close. Versus a recreational player, I think we have 2 ways to play this hand. We may start with a check call, or we may start with 3 small bets, which is a line I like as well. I'll start the check this time. The more we think, we have no info on this guy, the more we think he's aggressive, the more we should go for the check. The more we think he's passive, the more we should go for the bet. If you have no info like this case, I think we could mix both. And I'm gonna check call the first for sure. Deuce is pretty much of a blank card. I don't think he would bet big on the flop with many deuces, so it doesn't change much a deuce. Table 1, we open ace king, small blind calls. He's a recreational player, no info on the big blind, who is with a very deep stack. And on this river, I think checking and calling is fine. King of clubs is a decent blocker, and I don't think he's gonna check bet with many aces. I think if he wants to play them aggressively, he would bet the turn, typically. This guy donks, and we make both call or raise here. I don't mind both lines. It's very easy for him to defend to a raise, I think, so I'm just gonna call. Bad board here, and I'm gonna call also on the turn. We may have the best hand also. The 9 is not that great. Some of its draws now got there, so it's a pretty bad river actually. And I'm just gonna fold with no info, apart that he is a recreational player. For now, we do fold. Deuce 3 is we fold. 6-8 off, we fold. 3-7, we fold. Queen jack, time to open this one. But we are going to fold to 3-bet. First time this guy 3-bet as well, so I guess it's pretty safe to fold a trash hand like that. A7 off, we might open if everybody folds. I'm not playing this hand otherwise, so here we fold. A6, not a nice hand, but we will open it from the button if there is nobody raising before us. Big blind is 3-betting very few so far. That's a nice board. I don't know if it's a recreational or not. It shouldn't be a top regular. I'll start with a half pot 3-bet. just fold. We open the ace-4 diamond as well the pocket sevens on table 1. Interesting flop. I don't think I have out of fold equity here. We may either bet small, so anyway he folds trash and we don't get left. Plus we get to sit the turn cheaply if I bet it small, as I'm gonna do. Versus a bad player, I don't mind doing this super small block bet. They work well. If he has lower, weaker things, he's gonna fold. If not, he's gonna call a lot. The turn is nice, but I'm not gonna bet big. I'm just gonna bet small again, and probably the same sizing on the river. This river sucks, but I would still bet 30% pot or something like that, because I feel like if he has two pair or something, he's gonna call this sizing. And if he raises, we're probably behind, so it's a pretty safe check fold. Bet fold, pardon. Yeah, just fold here. On table 2, we are playing a limpet pot. I bet the flop. I shouldn't have many strong hands here, but he may have many 10 or jack X. I'm gonna bet again on the turn. I think this is one of the hands we might end up betting 3 times here. Even if we're not super happy, because of course if he has ace X, he's not gonna fold, but you know, we still have 5 high, and sometimes we have to bluff that. It's got a couple of folds here. A7. I would have 3-bet here this guy to isolate, but unluckily a regular 3-bet before us. Sometimes we might 4-bet, sometimes not. King 6 of clubs, nothing. For 6 off and king jack off. I am going to open king jack off, 3x, given the big blind who is not sitting with 100 big blinds. Even the small blind should be a recreational player. Pretty bad board. We have no fold equity, no equity. I'm just gonna check, and if he checks again on the turn, we might try to attempt a 2 straight bluff. But he overbets, so I guess he has other plans. Ace 3 off. We might defend versus small blind, but I will defend usually versus the button as well, but he made it so big, I think we can fold this. It's a pretty bad hand to play out of position. And if you get a bad price to play it, I think it's just better to fold. We open this ace-4, big blind folds, that's okay. 10 check off, queen 7 off. Couple of trash hands. 9-10 off. May defend if button or small blind opens. Normally fold to a cutoff raise. It's gonna depend also on the sizing, of course. Well, now it's gonna fold for sure. Jack U suited. Another hand that we may play versus in certain situations, but I'm not gonna play it in a 3x versus a 3x. Well, of course not on a 3x and 3-bet. Queen 10 off on table 1. I'm gonna make it 3x, get a big blind. Okay, ace and off. I'm gonna open this one from the cutoff, but we're going to fold 23-bet. This guy looks like an it. We are going to open this king queen. Nice blinds. Jack 4 suited on table 2. It's a hand we may defend versus cutoff, button or small blind, unless to make it huge. I don't love it in a 3-way pot, but we are in position versus a bad player, which is always nice. And we are also going to call the king queen. Just gonna check this. Sometimes it's a spot which can lead us to make a dunk bet, but I don't like it with this specific combo. Okay, we have now 7-9 suited, and I am going to open it 3x. It's a bit loose, but again, I widen a bit sometimes. Depending on the table, I may widen my opening range. Weak player calls on the big blind. He donks one blind, and versus this kind of dunk bets, I play very aggressively, so I am going to raise 4. He is gonna bet call with all his draws. If he bets raises, of course we are behind. If he folds, we're happy. We still had only just a pairs of 7. Gonna call ace deuce suited, but on this kind of board where we have pure air and just one overcard, we are just going to check fold. Not much to do there. Ace 9 off. We are going to make call. It's close versus the middle position open. And I'm going to check call this flop, unless Willem makes it something insane. He does not, so well, that's a nice turn. We are still going to check call. Dunk betting is an option also on this river, on this turn. And I am going to pot on this river. I want to be polarized because I want my opponent to think I have either a 9 or I have nothing. And he might call if he has an overpair or things like this, but he quickly folded, so I don't think he had much. I'm gonna open king 8 suited. This guy 3-bets, he barely 3-bets so far. Just gonna make an easy fold there. I will open king 10 off and hope to play with one of the blinds. Nope. Wins. Let's make it 2x, and this is one of the situations in which I don't mind over limping. We have 2 limps. If I raise, I'm probably gonna get 2 calls with a terrible hand, not what I like. This guy so far was super active, and then just going to 4-bet and call a shove. It's a nice flop. Gonna bet about this size versus a recreational player calling a shove. It's not the best turn, but not even the worst. I'm just gonna call. He may have things like ace king with ace of hearts, and no reason to think he has a jack. He had a random hand, which luckily, even with the 2 pair, was not enough. Okay, on table 2, I'm gonna just call this bet on the turn, check the flop. I think it's fine to check the turn. Just gonna call this turn. We have a lot of equity, but the river sucks, so we're just going to check. We have ace king on table 1, and I am going to 3-bet this recreational player. We have, I mean, it looks super tight, like he is playing 23, 2.3, but we have no hands, so I'm still willing to get it in because I don't think in 40 hands our PFR, his PFR, is gonna be that valuable. Gonna bet on the flop. Checking is an option as well, of course. And on this turn we have 2 options. Given it's a club, I don't mind sometimes firing again and planning a shove on the river. Okay, you know, on 7 and 9 I feel like he might call a lot. That's why c-betting ace king is still close versus a recreational player. But having said that, it means, I mean, if he goes too much on the flop, it means he's gonna have a lot of weaker hands than he should on the turn, and we can fire a bit more. So that's why I wouldn't mind that line. And I mean, if he's not gonna fold enough on the flop, if we think he's not gonna fold enough on the flop, this means he's gonna have to overfold turn or river. That's why also I was planning on shoving the river on different amount of rivers. Okay, I'm gonna sit out next big blind. This was a short session, but I'm gonna probably put it in full, I think. Even if he didn't play that many huge hands, I hope I explained enough, even the small ones, to give you some tips, some ideas for your game. Next time I will make it a bit longer. Now I just had this time and I chose why not to make a session. So yeah, I hope you like this session, and if you have any question about a hand I played or something in process I explained, please ask. I mean, I will not edit the video, so maybe it might happen that I said something thinking something else, so if something is not clear, please just ask and I will replay as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, see you next time.